Welcome to Lotus Light Teachings, your companion in exploring timeless wisdom and finding joy in everyday life. Today, we're diving into a profound yet practical topic: the 7 secrets to living a truly happy life. These insights, rooted in Buddhist philosophy, are not just theories. They are tools you can use to transform your daily experiences. Let's begin this journey of discovery together. Have you ever stopped to wonder, what is it that truly makes us happy? Is it success, wealth, or perhaps recognition? For so many of us, the pursuit of happiness feels like running after the horizon, always visible but never quite within reach. Yet, in moments of stillness, we sometimes sense that happiness might not be something external to achieve, but something already within us, waiting to be uncovered. Let me share a story with you. A few years ago, I found myself sitting on a park bench one crisp autumn morning, overwhelmed by the demands of daily life. My phone buzzed with endless notifications, my mind raced with unfinished tasks, and a nagging feeling of dissatisfaction lingered. But then, something shifted. A gust of wind stirred the golden leaves, and the simple beauty of the moment caught my attention. I paused, took a deep breath, and for the first time in days, felt a quiet sense of contentment. It wasn't the park, the weather, or even the break from work that brought this feeling. It was a small but significant shift in perspective, a reminder to be present, to let go of the rush, and to simply be. That brief moment taught me a profound lesson. Happiness isn't always about what we have or do. Sometimes it's about how we see and experience what's already here. This realization is deeply aligned with Buddhist philosophy, which teaches us that true happiness comes from within. In today's video, we'll explore 7 transformative secrets inspired by these ancient teachings. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're practical, actionable principles that can help us navigate the noise and stress of modern life. From cultivating gratitude and strengthening our relationships to embracing change and living with purpose, each secret holds the power to bring us closer to a life of genuine joy and fulfillment. As we embark on this journey together, I invite you to keep an open heart and mind. Reflect on your own life, your challenges, and your triumphs. Think about how these principles might resonate with your experiences and where they might guide you. This isn't just a lecture. It's a conversation, a shared exploration of what it means to live well. 1. Gratitude as a superpower. There's a moment in everyone's life when the weight of the world feels unbearable, when the light of joy is dimmed by a curtain of struggle, loss, or uncertainty. In those times, the simple act of gratitude can become a beacon of hope, a transformative force that illuminates the blessings we so often overlook. Let me guide you through this journey, weaving together personal stories, ancient Buddhist teachings, and practical wisdom to explore how gratitude can truly be a superpower. A quiet revelation. Many years ago, a young woman named May found herself at the edge of despair. May had lost her job and with it, her sense of identity. She spent sleepless nights replaying her perceived failures and feeling overwhelmed by the uncertainty of her future. One evening, as she sat in a small garden behind her apartment, a single lotus flower caught her eye. It was blooming gracefully in the murky water of a small pond. Something about its quiet beauty moved her deeply. That moment sparked a realization. Just as the lotus rises above the mud, she, too, could find something beautiful amidst her struggles. May began keeping a gratitude journal, writing down 3 things each day for which she was thankful. First, it was challenging. What could she possibly feel grateful for when everything seemed to be falling apart? But as she persevered, her list grew. The warmth of the morning sun, the comforting aroma of her grandmother's tea, the kind smile of a neighbor. Small, everyday moments began to take on a new significance. Slowly but surely, May felt her perspective shift. Her problems didn't vanish, but her capacity to face them grew stronger. This story reminds us that gratitude isn't about denying pain or glossing over challenges. Instead, it's about nurturing the seeds of resilience and joy already present in our lives. The psychology of gratitude. Modern psychology echoes the wisdom of Buddhist teachings on gratitude. Research shows that practicing gratitude rewires the brain, enhancing our ability to focus on the positive aspects of life. The neural pathways responsible for regulating emotions and decision-making become more robust, allowing us to navigate adversity with greater clarity and calmness. Gratitude releases dopamine and serotonin, the feel-good chemicals that promote a sense of well-being. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha teaches that contentment is the greatest wealth. This truth aligns with the understanding that when we appreciate what we have, we experience a richness that transcends material possessions. The law of karma, cause and effect, also plays a role here. By cultivating gratitude, we create a mental environment that attracts positivity and harmony. Consider the story of Arun, a man who survived a devastating natural disaster. He lost his home, his possessions, and even some loved ones. In the aftermath, Arun could have easily succumbed to bitterness and despair. Instead, he chose gratitude. Every day, he focused on one thing he still had, his breath. Arun would sit quietly, feeling the rise and fall of his chest, and silently thank his body for sustaining him. He expressed gratitude for the kindness of strangers who brought him food and the shelter he eventually found. Over time, Arun became an advocate for others who had suffered similar losses, using his story to inspire resilience. His gratitude for life's smallest blessings became the foundation for his recovery and his service to others. While the practice of gratitude may seem simple, its transformative power lies in its consistency and depth. Here are some practical ways to integrate gratitude into your life. 1. Gratitude journal. Start or end each day by writing down 3 things you are grateful for. These can be as small as a pleasant breeze or as significant as the love of a family member. 2. Gratitude walks. Take a walk with the intention of noticing and appreciating the beauty around you. Trees swaying in the wind, children laughing, or the sound of birdsong. With each step, silently say, "Thank you." 3. Family rituals. Create a gratitude tradition at home. For instance, during meals, take turns sharing something you're grateful for that day. For mindful appreciation. When you use an object, such as a cup or a pen, pause to acknowledge the hands that created it and the purpose it serves in your life. Gratitude is woven deeply into Buddhist philosophy. The Buddha often emphasized the importance of being thankful for the support and kindness of others. In the Sigalovada Sutta, he described gratitude as a virtue that strengthens relationships and fosters harmony. Recognizing our interdependence, the fact that our existence is supported by countless beings and conditions, naturally leads to a profound sense of appreciation. Even in the Four Noble Truths, there is room for gratitude. Suffering, dukkha, is an inevitable part of life, but through understanding its causes and following the Eightfold Path, we can find liberation. Gratitude reminds us to cherish the moments of joy and peace that arise along this journey, no matter how fleeting they may seem. I remember a time in my own life when gratitude helped me through a particularly dark period. After the sudden loss of a dear friend, I was consumed by grief. I felt hollow, unable to find meaning in the simplest of things. One day, a mentor suggested I write a letter of gratitude to my late friend, not for their passing, but for their life and the love they had shared with me. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but also one of the most healing. As I wrote, memories of our laughter, our conversations, and the lessons they had taught me came flooding back. I realized that their presence had been a gift, and even though they were no longer physically here, their impact on my life remained. That letter didn't erase my grief, but it gave me a way to hold onto the love while letting go of the pain. Change, especially when unexpected or unwelcome, can challenge our capacity for gratitude. But it is precisely during these times that gratitude becomes most powerful. When life feels uncertain, focusing on even the smallest blessings can anchor us, reminding us that goodness still exists amidst the chaos. Ask yourself, what are you grateful for at this moment? Perhaps it's the breath sustaining you, the food nourishing you, or the support of a friend who listens without judgment. By starting small and staying consistent, gratitude can grow into a practice that sustains you through life's many ups and downs. Gratitude doesn't ask us to ignore our struggles. Instead, it invites us to hold them gently, to recognize that even in pain, there are moments of grace. The act of saying, "Thank you" transforms not just our perspective, but our entire experience of life. As the Buddha said, Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So, let us all be thankful. With this wisdom, let us move forward, cultivating gratitude not as a fleeting emotion, but as a lifelong practice, a superpower that can illuminate even the darkest paths. 2. Prioritize relationships. There is a quiet beauty in the connections we form with others, a thread that weaves through our lives, binding us in moments of love, understanding, and shared humanity. Yet, in the fast-paced world we live in, these threads can sometimes fray. We might take relationships for granted, letting them slip into the background of our lives. But what if we paused and truly saw the people around us? What if we honored the sacred bond that relationships represent? Through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, let us explore the profound significance of nurturing connections and how they form the bedrock of a meaningful life. I remember a time in my own life when a relationship, once vibrant, had faded into neglect. My younger brother and I had grown distant over the years, not out of conflict, but because life seemed to pull us in different directions. One day, a health scare in the family brought us back together. Sitting by my brother's side in a quiet hospital room, I realized how much I had missed. His humor, his wisdom, and the unspoken bond we had shared as children. It was all still there, waiting to be rediscovered. That experience taught me a powerful lesson. Relationships, like gardens, require care and attention to flourish. When we neglect them, we not only lose touch with others, but also with parts of ourselves. In Buddhism, the principle of interdependence, or pratityasamutpata, teaches us that all things arise in connection with one another. Just as no single drop of rain exists in isolation from the clouds, the earth, or the rivers it nourishes, so too do our lives gain meaning through our relationships. The Buddha himself emphasized this truth when he told his disciple Ananda, "Spiritual friendship is not half the holy life, it is the whole of the holy life." These words remind us that relationships are not just an aspect of life to be managed. They are the very foundation of our spiritual journey. One story from Buddhist teachings that beautifully illustrates this comes from the life of the Buddha himself. During a time of great illness in the monastic community, one monk was left alone in his suffering because the others believed his condition was too severe to help. When the Buddha learned of this, he personally tended to the sick monk, bathing him and cleaning his wounds. He then turned to the community and reminded them that caring for one another is the essence of their practice. "Whoever serves the sick and suffering serves me," he said. This story is a timeless reminder that compassion and care for one another are not separate from spiritual practice. They are integral to it. In our modern lives, it is easy to feel disconnected, even as we are surrounded by people. Technology has brought us closer in some ways, but has also created barriers to genuine connection. We scroll through updates and messages, mistaking them for meaningful interactions, while the deeper bonds of understanding and support remain untouched. How often do we sit across from a loved one, physically present but mentally elsewhere? And how many opportunities for connection do we let slip by because we are too busy, distracted, or afraid of vulnerability? To prioritize relationships is to make a conscious choice to be present. It begins with small acts, truly listening when someone speaks, reaching out with a kind word, or making time for shared experiences. One of the most powerful ways to nurture connections is through the practice of mindful presence. When we listen without judgment or distraction, we create a space where others feel seen and valued. This simple act can transform not only the relationship but also the way we perceive the world. In my own life, I've found that some of the most meaningful moments come not from grand gestures but from quiet, attentive conversations. Another way to strengthen relationships is by cultivating forgiveness. In the natural course of human connection, misunderstandings and conflicts are inevitable. The Buddha's teaching on forgiveness encourages us to let go of resentment and approach others with compassion. Holding on to anger or hurt only deepens our suffering, like carrying a heavy stone that weighs us down. But when we forgive, we free ourselves and others to move forward with an open heart. I think of a friend who once betrayed my trust, a wound that took years to heal. It was only when I allowed myself to truly forgive, recognizing their humanity and my own, that our friendship was able to grow again, stronger and more honest than before. Relationships also flourish when we embrace opportunities for shared purpose. Volunteering together, organizing community gatherings, or working toward a common goal can create a sense of unity and deepen our bonds. I once joined a small group of neighbors to plant a community garden. What started as a project to beautify our surroundings soon became something much greater, a space where friendships blossomed, stories were shared, and a sense of belonging grew. That garden wasn't just about the flowers and vegetables we planted. It was about the connections we cultivated with one another. A particularly moving story about the value of relationships comes from a monk named Ajahn Chah. Known for his deep wisdom, Ajahn Chah often used simple yet profound analogies to convey spiritual truths. One day, a young monk asked him how to deal with the loneliness he felt while meditating in isolation. Ajahn Chah handed him a cup and said, "This cup is not just a cup. It is the earth, the fire, the water, and the hands that shaped it. When you drink from it, you are connected to all those things." The monk later reflected that this lesson helped him understand that we are never truly alone because everything we experience is a result of countless connections. Even in solitude, our relationships with the world around us sustain us. When we prioritize relationships, we also open ourselves to profound personal growth. The people in our lives often serve as mirrors, reflecting our strengths and weaknesses. They challenge us to practice patience, compassion, and humility. A difficult relationship can be a powerful teacher, revealing the areas where we still need to grow. In Buddhist terms, this is an opportunity to practice the Brahmaviharas, the four immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity. By embodying these qualities in our interactions, we elevate our relationships from mere exchanges to spiritual practices. As I reflect on these lessons, I am reminded of the impermanence of all things. The people we cherish today may not always be with us. Change, loss, and separation are inevitable parts of life. But instead of fearing this truth, we can use it to deepen our appreciation for the present moment. Each interaction becomes a precious opportunity to express love, gratitude, and understanding. When my grandmother passed away, I found solace in the memories of the time we spent together. Her wisdom, her laughter, and even her gentle reprimands were gifts that shaped who I am. Knowing that I had cherished those moments while they lasted brought me a sense of peace amidst the grief. In the end, the essence of prioritizing relationships is simple yet profound. To love and to be loved, to see and to be seen, to support and to be supported. It is through these connections that we discover the true richness of life, the strength to endure challenges, and the joy that arises from our shared humanity. As you consider your own relationships, I invite you to reflect. Is there someone in your life who might need your attention, your kindness, or your forgiveness? What small step can you take today to nurture that connection? Perhaps it's a phone call to a distant friend, a heartfelt thank you to a family member, or simply the act of being fully present with someone who needs your time. The Buddha's teachings remind us that the path to liberation is not walked alone. We are each threads in the vast tapestry of existence, woven together in intricate patterns of interdependence. By honoring and nurturing these connections, we create not only a happier life for ourselves, but also a more compassionate and harmonious world. 3. Focus on the present moment. Imagine a typical day. Your alarm rings, and before you even leave your bed, your hand instinctively reaches for your phone. Messages, notifications, and a flood of information rush in, setting the tone for your morning. Throughout the day, tasks pile up, and even during moments of rest, your mind is elsewhere, scrolling through social media, worrying about tomorrow, or replaying the past. Does this sound familiar? It's the experience of so many of us, living in a world where distractions pull us away from the present moment. Yet, amidst this chaos, there lies a profound truth. The present is all we truly have. There's a teaching in Buddhism that encapsulates this beautifully. Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. These words, often attributed to the Buddha, carry a wisdom that feels both timeless and urgent. To focus on the present moment is not to ignore the realities of life, but to fully engage with it, finding clarity and peace even in its imperfections. I recall the story of a woman named Emma, a high-level executive at a fast-paced company. Emma's days were packed with meetings, deadlines, and a constant need to prove herself. Despite her accomplishments, she often felt a deep sense of exhaustion and disconnection. One evening, while scrolling through her phone, she stumbled upon an article about mindfulness. Intrigued but skeptical, she decided to give it a try. Her first attempt at mindfulness was simple. She committed to eating one meal a day without distractions. No emails, no TV, just her and her food. At first, it felt strange. She noticed things she had ignored before: the texture of the food, the subtle flavors, even the act of chewing. Over time, this small practice grew. She began taking mindful walks during her lunch breaks, focusing on the rhythm of her steps and the sounds of nature. Gradually, Emma found that her stress levels decreased, her focus improved, and she felt more connected to her work and relationships. What started as a small experiment transformed her life. Mindfulness, as Emma discovered, is not confined to formal meditation. While sitting meditation is a powerful tool, mindfulness can be woven into the fabric of daily life. Think about the ordinary moments you might overlook: a morning cup of tea, the sensation of warm water during a shower, or the way the sun feels on your skin during a walk. These moments hold the potential to ground us, to bring us back to the present. When we approach even mundane tasks with mindfulness, they can become acts of meditation. Consider cooking. Rather than rushing through the preparation of a meal, what if you slowed down? Feel the weight of the knife in your hand, notice the vibrant colors of the vegetables, and listen to the rhythmic chopping sounds. This simple act becomes an opportunity to reconnect with yourself and the present. The benefits of mindfulness extend beyond individual peace, can transform how we interact with others. In conflicts, for instance, mindfulness allows us to pause and truly listen, rather than reacting impulsively. Imagine a disagreement with a loved one. Instead of immediately defending your position, you take a breath, observe your emotions without judgment, and respond with clarity and compassion. This mindful approach can defuse tension and deepen understanding. In the Buddha's teaching of the Eightfold Path, right mindfulness plays a central role. It encourages us to cultivate awareness of our body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. This awareness isn't about control or perfection. It's about observation, seeing things as they are without attachment or aversion. By practicing mindfulness, we create space between stimulus and response, allowing us to choose actions that align with wisdom and compassion. One of my personal mindfulness practices involves mindful walking. On particularly stressful days, I find a quiet path and walk slowly, feeling the ground beneath my feet. Each step becomes a reminder of the present moment. As I breathe deeply, I let go of the swirling thoughts in my mind and simply observe the world around me. The rustle of leaves, the distant sound of birds, or the faint scent of flowers. These walks are not just a means of relaxation, but a way to return to myself, to remember that peace is always within reach. For those new to mindfulness, starting can feel daunting, but it doesn't have to be. Begin with something simple. Here's an activity you can try right now. Sit comfortably and place your feet flat on the ground. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, then slowly exhale through your mouth. Focus on the sensation of your breath as it enters and leaves your body. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, the coolness of the air as you inhale, and its warmth as you exhale. If your mind wanders, gently guide it back to your breath. Do this for just 2 minutes. In that brief time, you've given yourself the gift of presence. Mindfulness also teaches us to accept life's impermanence. The present moment is fleeting, yet it is the only moment we truly have. When we resist this truth, clinging to the past or grasping at the future, we create suffering. But when we embrace impermanence, we learn to cherish each moment for what it is, a unique and unrepeatable experience. A poignant story from the Buddha's time illustrates this. One day, a woman named Kisa Gautami came to the Buddha, grieving the loss of her young son. She begged him to bring her child back to life. The Buddha, in his wisdom, asked her to find a mustard seed from a household that had never experienced death. Kisa searched tirelessly but found no such home. Through this experience, she realized that suffering is a universal part of life, and she began to see her loss with greater compassion and acceptance. This shift in perspective allowed her to find peace and continue her journey with newfound strength. In our modern lives, mindfulness can offer a similar transformation. By staying present, we can navigate change and loss with grace. When faced with uncertainty, mindfulness reminds us that we don't need to have all the answers. We can simply take things one breath, one step, one moment at a time. As you consider your own life, ask yourself, how often are you fully present? Are there moments where your mind is elsewhere, stealing the joy of the here and now? What small changes could you make to bring mindfulness into your daily routine? Perhaps it's savoring your morning coffee without distractions, taking a few deep breaths before a meeting, or pausing to appreciate the people around you. Mindfulness is not about escaping reality but embracing it fully. It is an invitation to slow down, to see the beauty in the ordinary, and to find peace amidst life's inevitable challenges. By focusing on the present moment, we unlock a profound truth. Happiness is not something we chase. It is something we awaken to, here and now. Pursue purpose, not perfection. In the quiet moments of our lives, when we pause to reflect, we may find ourselves asking, what is it that truly brings meaning to my days? Often, we become entangled in the pursuit of perfection, whether in our careers, relationships, or personal aspirations, only to find that the more we strive for flawlessness, the more distant true fulfillment feels. The journey to embrace purpose rather than perfection is one of the most profound shifts we can make, and it is a journey illuminated by the wisdom of the Buddha. There was once a man named Samuel who had built his life around the pursuit of perfection. As a young professional, he set lofty goals, meticulously planning every detail of his career. His home was immaculate, his presentations flawless, and his schedule packed with achievements. Yet, despite his outward success, Samuel felt an emptiness that he couldn't quite name. He often lay awake at night, haunted by the sense that he was running on a treadmill, moving but not truly getting anywhere. One day, a friend invited him to attend a retreat on mindfulness and purpose. Skeptical but curious, he went. That weekend, as Samuel listened to a teacher speak about the dangers of clinging to perfection, he felt something inside him shift. The teacher shared a story about a potter who intentionally placed a small flaw in each of their creations. These imperfections, the potter explained, are what make the pieces unique. Without them, they would be lifeless. This simple idea struck Samuel deeply. He realized that in his quest for perfection, he had been ignoring the beauty of his imperfections, the very things that made him human. In Buddhist teachings, the pursuit of perfection is often linked to attachment and suffering. The second noble truth, the cause of suffering, is tanha, or craving. When we cling to an idealized version of ourselves or our lives, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Instead of striving for an unattainable standard, the Buddha encourages us to focus on living with intention and integrity. This is beautifully reflected in the principle of right livelihood, one aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path, which teaches us to align our work and actions with our core values. The Japanese concept of ikigai resonates deeply with this idea. Ikigai, often translated as reason for being, represents the intersection of what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. It's a framework that encourages purpose-driven living, emphasizing balance and fulfillment over perfection. When we pursue our ikigai, we shift our focus from external validation to internal alignment, finding joy in the process rather than fixating on the outcome. Reflecting on our purpose requires introspection and honesty. One practical exercise is to write a life mission statement. Begin by asking yourself a few key questions. What are the moments in my life when I felt most alive? What activities or causes ignite my passion? How do I want to contribute to the world? Write down your answers without judgment. Over time, patterns will emerge, revealing what truly matters to you. This clarity can guide your decisions, helping you align your actions with your values. In my own journey, I've wrestled with the weight of perfectionism. For years, I believed that my worth was tied to my achievements. I pushed myself relentlessly, chasing accolades and approval. But with each milestone I reached, the satisfaction was fleeting. It wasn't until I experienced a period of burnout that I began to question my approach. I started exploring mindfulness and reflecting on what brought me genuine joy. I realized that my deepest fulfillment came not from external accomplishments but from meaningful connections and creative expression. Letting go of perfectionism allowed me to embrace my true purpose. And in doing so, I found a sense of freedom and peace that had eluded me for years. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is that mistakes and failures are not obstacles to purpose but stepping stones. They teach us resilience, humility, and adaptability. In Buddhist thought, this is connected to the idea of impermanence, or anicca. The recognition that all things are transient and ever-changing. When we accept this truth, we free ourselves from the illusion that we must get everything right, and instead focus on growth and learning. Consider the story of Angulimala, a notorious bandit from Buddhist scripture. Despite his violent past, he found redemption and purpose after encountering the Buddha. Through the teachings, he transformed his life, dedicating himself to compassion and service. His story reminds us that it's never too late to realign with our purpose, and that our imperfections do not define us. In our modern world, the pressure to achieve perfection is pervasive. Social media often amplifies this, presenting curated snapshots of success that can make us feel inadequate. But the truth is that everyone has struggles and flaws. By embracing authenticity and focusing on what truly matters, we can break free from the comparison trap and live more authentically. To cultivate a purpose-driven life, start small. Dedicate time each day to activities that align with your values. This could be as simple as writing in a journal, volunteering for a cause you care about, or spending quality time with loved ones. Remember that purpose is not a destination but a practice. A series of choices that reflect your intentions and values. As you reflect on your own life, ask yourself, are you living in alignment with your purpose, or are you caught in the pursuit of perfection? What small steps can you take today to reconnect with what truly matters? By shifting your focus from perfection to purpose, you open the door to a life of greater meaning, joy, and peace. The path to purpose is not linear or easy, but it is deeply rewarding. It invites us to embrace our humanity, imperfections, and all, and to find beauty in the journey rather than the destination. In the words of the Buddha, your work is to discover your work and then with all your heart to give yourself to it. May we all have the courage to walk this path with intention and compassion, honoring our unique purpose as we go. 5. Embrace change as growth. Change often arrives uninvited, disrupting the comfortable rhythms of our lives. It can take the form of a new job, the end of a relationship, or the loss of a loved one. For many, change feels like a storm. Unsettling, unpredictable, and overwhelming. Yet, in Buddhist teachings, change is not something to fear but a natural and inevitable part of existence. The concept of anicca, or impermanence, reminds us that everything is in constant flux. Just as seasons transition and rivers flow, our lives are shaped by change. This understanding can liberate us from clinging to what was and fearing what may come. I remember a man named Ravi who faced a profound life transition. After 2 decades in a stable corporate career, he was unexpectedly laid off. The news shattered his sense of identity and security. For weeks, he struggled with anger and self-doubt, feeling as though his life had lost its meaning. One day, a friend introduced him to a meditation retreat where he encountered the teachings of impermanence. Through guided practice, Ravi learned to observe his thoughts without judgment and to embrace the uncertainty of his situation. Slowly, he discovered new opportunities. Mentoring younger professionals and pursuing a passion for photography. What began as a devastating loss became a doorway to growth and self-discovery. The Buddha's teaching of the Four Noble Truths offers profound guidance during times of change. The first truth acknowledges that suffering, dukkha, is an inherent part of life. The second truth identifies attachment as the root cause of suffering. When we cling to the illusion of permanence, we create pain for ourselves. However, The third and fourth truths offer hope. By letting go of attachment and following the Eightfold Path, we can find liberation and peace. One practical way to navigate change is by creating rituals to mark transitions. In many cultures, rituals help us honor endings and welcome new beginnings. For example, lighting a candle to signify letting go of the past or journaling about lessons learned can provide a sense of closure. Practicing gratitude is another powerful tool. By focusing on the blessings that remain, we can shift our perspective from loss to abundance. Ravi, for instance, began each morning by listing 3 things he was grateful for: his health, the support of loved ones, and the opportunity to explore new paths. In my own life, a significant change came when I moved to a new city far from family and friends. The initial loneliness was palpable, but it forced me to reflect deeply on my values and priorities. I began seeking community in unexpected places: a neighborhood library, a yoga studio, and even casual conversations with strangers. Over time, I realized that this change had taught me resilience and adaptability. It reminded me of a teaching from the Dhammapada. As a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, wise people falter not amidst blame and praise. Change, though unsettling, can strengthen our inner foundation. 6. Take care of mind and body. The Buddha once said, "To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear." This timeless wisdom speaks to the profound interconnectedness of mind and body. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to neglect this balance. We prioritize deadlines over rest, fast food over nourishment, and scrolling through screens over mindful reflection. Yet, when we neglect our physical and mental well-being, we undermine our capacity for joy and resilience. A story that comes to mind is that of Clara, a senior practitioner in her 60s who had spent years prioritizing others over herself. Between caring for her family and managing work, she rarely paused to consider her own needs. Over time, Clara began experiencing chronic fatigue and anxiety. Encouraged by a friend, she started a simple wellness routine: daily morning walks and 10 minutes of meditation. These small acts of self-care gradually transformed her life. Clara's energy returned, her mind felt clearer, and she discovered a renewed sense of purpose. Caring for the body is not about achieving perfection but fostering harmony. Physical health is deeply connected to mental clarity. Exercise, for example, releases endorphins that boost mood and reduce stress. Even gentle activities like yoga, stretching, or walking can improve circulation and focus. Mindful eating is another powerful practice. Instead of rushing through meals, take time to savor each bite, appreciating the textures, flavors, and effort behind the food. This not only enhances digestion but cultivates gratitude for the sustenance we receive. Equally important is caring for the mind. Meditation is a cornerstone of mental well-being, helping us quiet the chatter of the mind and connect with the present moment. For beginners, starting with just 5 minutes a day can make a difference. Choose a comfortable spot, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Each inhale and exhale becomes an anchor, drawing you away from distractions. Over time, this practice builds mental resilience, enabling you to face challenges with calm and clarity. Rest and recovery are vital components of self-care. In our culture of constant productivity, sleep is often undervalued. Yet, restorative sleep is essential for both cognitive function and emotional balance. Establishing a bedtime routine, such as turning off screens an hour before sleep or practicing relaxation techniques, can significantly improve sleep quality. Clara, for instance, began ending her evenings with a gratitude ritual, reflecting on 3 positive moments from her day. This not only calmed her mind but also fostered a sense of fulfillment. Another aspect of self-care is finding activities that nourish the spirit. For some, it might be spending time in nature, while for others, it could be pursuing a creative hobby or connecting with loved ones. These moments of joy and relaxation replenish our inner reserves, allowing us to show up fully in life. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness extends beyond meditation to encompass all aspects of daily life. When we care for our bodies and minds, we are practicing mindfulness in action. The Eightfold Path, particularly right effort and right mindfulness, encourages us to make choices that promote health and well-being. This includes not only what we consume, but also how we think and act. A healthy body supports a healthy mind, and together, they form the foundation for a balanced and meaningful life. Reflecting on my own journey, I found that small, consistent habits have the most lasting impact. Incorporating 10 minutes of meditation into my morning routine or taking mindful walks during lunch breaks has brought clarity and peace to my days. These practices remind me that self-care is not selfish but essential. As the Buddha taught, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. When we prioritize our well-being, we not only enhance our own lives but also become better equipped to support others. Imagine a candle.it can only light other candles if its own flame burns brightly. By caring for our minds and bodies, we ensure that our inner flame remains strong, illuminating the path for ourselves and those around us. 7. Give without expecting. There's a timeless story of a teacher in a small village who taught children under the shade of a banyan tree. Her resources were scarce, and her classroom was nothing more than the open ground. Yet, she poured her heart into nurturing the young minds entrusted to her. She didn't just teach arithmetic and reading. She taught compassion, resilience, and the value of community. One day, a storm swept through the village, destroying homes and livelihoods. The teacher, already living modestly, took it upon herself to organize help. She gave not only her time and energy, but also her meager savings to support the rebuilding effort. Years later, when the teacher had grown old and frail, her former students, now thriving adults, returned to care for her, crediting her generosity and guidance as the foundation of their success. This story is a profound reminder that generosity creates ripples far beyond what we can see. Giving without expecting anything in return is one of the purest acts of compassion. In Buddhism, this selfless giving is known as dana, a practice that transcends material wealth and speaks to the heart of human connection. Dana is not about the size of the gift, but the intention behind it. It is a way of letting go of attachment, of ego, and of the need for recognition. The Buddha often spoke of the transformative power of giving. In one discourse, he described the joy of giving as threefold: the joy before giving, the joy during the act, and the joy after the act. This joy arises not from what we lose in giving, but from the connection it fosters with others and with the essence of our own humanity. When we give selflessly, we cultivate a sense of abundance, breaking free from the illusion of scarcity and lack. Modern life often pulls us toward accumulation. We are conditioned to measure success by what we have rather than what we give. Yet, consider this: have you ever experienced the deep satisfaction of helping someone in need? Perhaps you offered your time to a friend in distress, donated to a cause you believe in, or simply smiled at a stranger having a tough day. These moments remind us of a truth that possessions cannot. Happiness is amplified when shared. Generosity doesn't have to be grand to be meaningful. Small acts can create profound impact. Think about the power of a kind word spoken at the right moment. Imagine a coworker overwhelmed by a tight deadline. A simple gesture offering to help, or even just acknowledging their effort can lighten their burden. Or consider a neighbor struggling with their groceries. Taking a few minutes to assist them not only eases their load, but also strengthens the fabric of your community. In my own life, I recall a day when I was rushing through a crowded subway station, preoccupied with my schedule. As I climbed the stairs, I noticed an elderly man struggling to carry a heavy bag. My initial reaction was hesitation. Would I have time? But something in his weary expression moved me. I stopped, offered to help, and carried his bag to the top of the stairs. His gratitude was palpable, but what stayed with me was the unexpected warmth I felt in that moment. That small act of giving reminded me that generosity isn't just about the recipient. It transforms the giver as well. In Buddhist practice, giving is not limited to material wealth. The Sangha, or community of practitioners, is sustained by acts of generosity in many forms, sharing wisdom, offering time, or providing support. These acts strengthen the bonds of the community, reflecting the Buddha's teaching on interdependence. Just as a tree depends on the soil, sun, and rain to thrive, we too are sustained by the kindness of others. By giving freely, we honor this interconnectedness. Generosity also teaches us to release attachment. In the act of giving, we confront our own tendencies toward hoarding and self-preservation. Letting go, whether it's of physical possessions, time, or even emotional comfort, is a practice of freedom. It reminds us that clinging creates suffering, while release fosters peace. For those looking to cultivate generosity in daily life, it can begin with simple intentions. Reflect on your day. Is there someone who could benefit from your time, your skills, or your kindness? Perhaps it's mentoring a younger colleague, volunteering for a community project, or donating to a cause close to your heart. Even the smallest gestures, a handwritten note, a thoughtful gift, or lending an empathetic ear, carry immense value. The beauty of generosity lies in its cyclical nature. When we give, we inspire others to do the same. It's like lighting a candle. One flame can ignite countless others without losing its own light. Over time, these acts of kindness create a ripple effect, fostering a culture of compassion and connection. One of the most moving lessons I've learned from the practice of giving is that it bridges divides. In moments of generosity, the boundaries that separate us age, culture, status fade away. What remains is a shared humanity, a recognition that we are all walking this path together. As the Buddha said, "If you knew as I know the power of giving, you would not let a single meal pass without sharing it." In a world that often emphasizes competition and individualism, the practice of giving offers a refreshing alternative. It reminds us that true wealth is not measured by what we accumulate, but by what we contribute. By giving without expectation, we align ourselves with the universal truths of interdependence and compassion. As you reflect on this, consider how you might incorporate generosity into your life. Is there an opportunity to brighten someone's day with a small act of kindness? Could you dedicate time to a cause that resonates with you? Or perhaps, simply acknowledge and appreciate the generosity you've received from others. In doing so, you honor the cycle of giving and receiving, a dance as ancient and sacred as life itself. When we give selflessly, we not only bring joy to others but also discover a deeper wellspring of fulfillment within ourselves. Generosity, after all, is not just an act. It is a way of being, a testament to the boundless capacity of the human heart. As we come to the end of today's exploration, I want to leave you with one final thought. Happiness is not a destination or a finish line. It's a practice. A series of small, mindful choices that we make every day. Each of the 7 secrets we've discussed today, gratitude, relationships, presence, purpose, change, self-care, and generosity, are like stepping stones on the path to a more fulfilling life. Let's circle back to the idea of impermanence for a moment. Life is constantly in motion, much like a flowing river. We can't stop the current, nor can we hold onto every drop of water. But we can choose how we navigate its flow. By embracing change, cultivating patience, and focusing on what truly matters, we create a sense of peace that no external circumstance can shake. I'd like to share one more story before we part. There was once a monk who was known for his unshakable calm and kindness. When asked how he remained so peaceful even in the face of difficulties, he simply replied, "I practice seeing everything as it is. A gift, a lesson, or an opportunity. When I stop fighting what is and start accepting it, I find freedom." This monk's wisdom is a reminder to all of us. We don't need to control everything to find happiness. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is let go and trust the process of life. Before you go, I encourage you to take a moment to reflect on what we've shared today. Is there one principle or idea that stands out to you? Perhaps it's starting a gratitude journal, reconnecting with an old friend, or simply pausing to breathe deeply during a busy day. Whatever it is, commit to taking one small step toward happiness today. And remember, happiness grows when shared. If this video resonated with you, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing it with someone who might need a little light in their life. Let us know in the comments which of these secrets speaks to you the most, or share your own practices for finding joy. Together, we can create a community that uplifts and inspires. Thank you for spending your time with me today. It's been an honor to share this space with you. Until we meet again, may you find peace in the present moment, joy in the journey, and love in every step along the way. Take care and see you in the next video. This introduction and conclusion are designed to inspire, connect emotionally, and encourage practical application while fostering engagement with the audience. Let me know if you'd like adjustments or additions.